Hello everyone. In today's session, we are going to discuss about Git, and it will be purely theoretical session. In this session, we are going to discuss about full form of Git, definition of Git, what is the importance and the uses and tools available in the market. So let's start it. First of all, is there any full form of this Git or not? As such, there is no full form of this word Git. And if we talk about in the words of Linus, the inventor of Git, Git means anything which will be depends on your mode. So we can interpret meaning of Git depends on your mode. So if it is working very well and if you are in the good mood, then it will be global information tracker. But if not, if it is not working as per the requirement, if you are in the bad mood, it can be stupid content tracker. Okay, so as such, there is no full form, there is no full name of this Git word definition. So Git is the distributed version control system. For this session, we are not going to talk and discuss about this word distributed. We will talk about it in the later sessions. But today, we are going to discuss about this particular word version control system. Okay, so today we are going to focus on this word version control. So Git is the distributed version control system. First of all, let's understand what is the meaning of versioning. So by the word versioning, in layman terms, we can say that versioning means multiple copies of the same file. Over here, for the simplicity, we are talking about a file, only a single file, but it can be a folder as well, which will include multiple files. So for simplicity and for the understanding purpose, consider only a file, only single file. Right? If we have multiple copies of the same file, we can say that we have multiple versions of that particular file. Again, each copy will be different from another copy. It means each different copies of this single file may or may not contain the information of another copy. So for explanation purpose, I will take an example of HTML file. So consider that today you have created a very first HTML file. Then tomorrow you have created new file based on today's file. Okay, and then the day after tomorrow you have created another new file based on the tomorrow's file. So over here, tomorrow's file will contain the code of today's file, and the day after tomorrow's file will contain the code of today and tomorrow's file. Okay, so as I have mentioned over here, all these files contain code of previous day. So let's see practically that what I am speaking about. Okay, over here I have 3 HTML files. So under one folder, today I have created this file called today. Okay, and it contains the code like this: today's script and code that has been written today. Then tomorrow I have created another file called tomorrow.html, which will contain the code of today's file, as well as it will contain the new code that I am going to write today, which is this one, tomorrow's script code that has been written tomorrow. And now, the day after tomorrow, I am going to create a new file, which will be the day after tomorrow.html file. Now, this day after tomorrow.html file will contain the code of today's script, it will contain the code of tomorrow's script, and then it will have new code that I'm going to write in the day after tomorrow.html file, which will be this one, like the day after tomorrow's script and code that has been written day after tomorrow. Over here, we have 3 different versions, 3 different copies of the same HTML file, where today.html being the oldest file, and we can consider it as a version 1, and day after tomorrow being the newest file, and we can consider it as version 3. So this is what we call versioning of the files. Now let's talk about the complexity level over here. So you are the only one developer who is working on a web development project, and in the real life scenario, we won't have only single file and single folder. So consider that you have single folder over here like this, okay, and within this single folder we have multiple files like this HTML, then we will have CSS, then we will have JavaScript, then we will have Python, then let's say we will have PHP. Within this one folder we will have multiple files. Again over here we will have multiple HTML files, we will have multiple CSS file, we will have multiple JS file, we will have multiple Python files, same way we will have multiple PHP files. Again, it might also be possible that we will have these HTML files referencing other HTML files, like something like this. Then these HTML files might be referencing to these CSS files as well. Then we will have this JS script, which will again being referenced by this some HTML files. So you can see the complexity level that you need to work with when you want to work manually with all these different files versioning. Over here, you need to manually create copies, you need to manually make sure that all the code in those files working well. So this is what the complexity level is. Now again, consider that over here we are talking about only one developer, okay, so developer one only. But what if on this web development project 9 more developers are working? So in that case we will have a scenario like this, that we will have again another folder which is being worked by another developer, let's say developer 2, and same way we will have total 10 folders being worked by 10 different developers. And again, they will have seen this scenario, like they will have multiple HTML files, CSS, JavaScript, Python, PHP files, and all the developers are working on these different files on individual levels. Now let's increase the complexity level more. So over here, all these developers are working on their local system. They are working on their local PC or desktop. So we can consider this as a development environment. But in SDLC, software development life cycle, the scenario will be we will have development environment, then we will have QA environment, then we will have UAT environment, then we will have this staging environment, and finally we will have production environment. So this development will be the PC or desktop of the developer. QA, you can consider any Windows or Linux server. Then you will have this UAT, where actual user or the client going to test the application. Then staging you can consider as a mock-up of production, and then you will have the final production server. So in the development environment, we will have 10 developers who are going to work on this project. Then on QA, you need to consolidate all the 10 folders into single folders, because these 10 developers are working on 10 different features, 10 different requirements. So you need to consolidate all those 10 folders into single folders, so that all those 10 different features, 10 different requirements working together in the same application. Okay, then again, once QA has been confirmed, there is no issue in the code, you can move it to the UAT, then you can move it to the staging, and finally you can move it to the production. So over here you need to work with these 10 folders plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 and plus 1. So over here you need to work with 14 folders altogether in this software development life cycle. Let's move back to the presentation. Let me clear this stuff as well. Okay, so as I mentioned that in software development life cycle, we will have these different environments in which you have multiple codes working. So in all these scenarios, the complexity level will be too much high that it will be quite difficult to maintain the code for each environment. And in this scenario, what if multiple developers working in the same project, and how to merge the code from these different developers? How to check at what stage different developers are working? How to resolve the code merging issues? Also, how to switch between different requirements and work on the code or scripts specific to that particular requirement. So it's like we have, let's say, 3 different requirements. Then we need to create 3 different folders for these 3 different requirements. Then we need to manually work on these 3 different folders, their respective scripts. And then once the scripts are done, we need to merge them into the single folder. So over here, I'm just trying to provide an overview that what is the complexity level when you are working with these multiple developers, multiple scripts, multiple folders with these multiple environments. Also, what if after, let's say, 2 or 3 months of the development, the client is saying that I want the code which has been developed 3 months back? Then you need to do that hard work to find all the respective files with their respective references and put them in the correct place. And you need to make sure that all those things working fine. So that's where Git comes into the picture, because as it is a version control system, it will be easier to track all those changes with the tools like Git. So for an example, this is the GitLab. Over here, over a period of time, I have applied multiple commits to a particular branch, to a particular repository. So let's say at some point of time, I want to use a particular commit, I want to use particular code base. I can do that very easily because all the logs, all the tracking being done by this GitLab over here. Okay, so in case I want to use any code, let's say from the year 2021, 23rd October, I can easily do that. All the respective file with their respective references, their respective changes will be there in my local branch, in my local repository. So this is what the importance of Git is. So the tools available in the market, so the most popular one are GitHub, GitLab, and Bitbucket. They are being used widely in the market. Again, all these tools are based on Git and they have their own advantages and disadvantages. Apart from these 3 widely used tools, we have these other GUI tools as well, GUI client as well, like GitHub Desktop, SourceTree, Tortoise Git, Git extension. So all these different tools are available which will make your task easier. And finally, these are the resources, these are the URLs that I have referred to create this presentation. That's it for the day. Thank you for watching this video.